Dead.
That was the best Spore Folk Tatsumaki to hope.
You're watching the Eternal Tournament Series.
In round 2, I am Gabe, also known as Calimdir, and bringing all the action to you in the booth with me is Sir Rhino.
Hello, yeah, happy to be here, and we're bringing you a pair of 1-0 players for this round 2 matchup. They're both in the winner's circle, and we have a couple of ETS regulars here. Hulkbuster on Fire, Primal, Justice, Aggro. I think it's maybe leaning towards mid-range, but it's in that soupy area where it's playing units that want to attack, and it's in 3 factions, right? And on the other side, we have Muxosk, which I will never pronounce correctly, apparently. On Fire Justice Shadow mid-range. It's not quite removal pile, but it's kind of like it because it's still playing for wanted poster, but it's playing a lot more units than kind of the takes on removal pile we've seen before.
Yeah, so this is the version that we've been seeing pop up on ladder a lot lately, where you're playing more units than the one that Kamado and Manu S played in the last ETS. But the units you're playing all either get value just from entering the battlefield by having charge or having a summon effect, or they have revenge or something like that.
Right.
And there's a lot more life gain in this deck. The notable exclusion is Throne Warden and less Auric Runehammers.
Right.
But I
Instead,
think I think the really interesting thing here is the other deck is the amalgamation of Rakano slash Huru Flyers slash whatever going on over on the other side.
yeah, this isn't anything particularly new, but it's a different take on that, right? I've seen Visarius work on like this combination, but in gunslingers, because Vadius is notably a gunslinger, so you could have like Fire Justice Primal Gunslinger plate, but this is more of a tilted towards the unseen side of it because it's got 4 Dark Veil Agent, which is not a card we've seen a lot of. This is a 2/2 unseen for 1 and a Primal, and it has Nightfall, so both players get to draw a card and take a damage. And at the start of your turn, if it's in play and it's night, all of your unseen get Aegis. So this can give itself Aegis if it survives a turn, which, hey, a 2/2 Aegis for 2, that's fine and fair. But it can also give your Kothon, which he has as a 1 of in the main deck and a couple on the side, Aegis. Unseen Commando will get an Aegis. You can refresh the Aegis on Shelterwing Rider because that's also an unseen. So it's this kind of taking the spot of maybe where you'd see Crown Watch Paladin in this style of list, where it is a cheap unit with Aegis, but it has some odd synergy going on in card velocity on top of it. And then you've got your just suite of good stuff threats everywhere else in the curve, right? Look at those 3 drops.
Yeah, I think Dark Veil Agent is a good addition to this style of deck. I can't believe I never noticed Vadius was a gunslinger. I don't know how I never noticed the Steel Frang Chakram was a gun. It's just been right there in front of me the whole time.
Yeah, Vadius wields a gun. He might not be as obvious up front, but he play right alongside Whirling Duo and all his other gunslinger friends. So yeah, I do think this is a pretty cool take on it. And we were talking before in this removal pile metagame, your units need Aegis or need charge or need a summon effect to really matter right now. And we've kind of seen Unseen Commando fall by the wayside, but maybe this Dark Veil Agent tech is the way to get it back in. I know I've seen Unearthly and some other, good mid-range / aggro players say Huru might be where to go, but maybe this Huru Rakano hybrid is really the ultimate. As we'll just have to see. The power's got to work, but if it does, Champion of Fury, Unseen Commando, Valkyrie Enforcer, Whirling Duo, Sheltering Rider, those are haymakers.
Yeah, definitely, and we'll see as we get into this matchup. Who do you think is favored? Because I personally, I'm almost inclined to favor the Rakano / Huru deck, but the weapons do scare me a little bit.
The weapons are scary, but Muxosk ultimately only has 3 Sword of Ikaria, 2 Auric Runehammers, unless you're talking about the weapons to put on units. And yeah, against a removal dense deck, that is scary, but I think that is addressed by just the kind of units you're playing, like Sheltering Rider and Vadius and Dark Veil Agent can all just be very adept weapon
Yeah.
carriers. So.
Yeah, I'm mostly worried about Runehammer, but you're right. There's only 2 Runehammers and 2 Rise to the Challenge, and sort of Akaria can get outclassed very easily.
Yeah, this will be intriguing. Um, this take of removal pile actually does have a little bit more Aegis popping than normal because of the Vicious Highwayman. Like that's kind of a cool upside there. Valkyrie Enforcer could also be used to pop Aegis. So yeah, this will be a real intriguing match as we get underway here. We see the Quarry from Muxosk. Don't know what it's looking for, but he's looking at a Seek Power and a Wanted poster, and opts to go with the 0-cost Wanted poster to pair with the Sword of Akaria, which lines up really well against Hulkbuster's deck. Hulkbuster's got 2 fully powered up Champions of Fury already in hand to go with a Whirling Duo, Torch, and Unseen Commando. And the threats are going to be coming for a while here. Muxosk plays out a Stone Powder up.
Yeah, why wouldn't you just play 3 factions? You're just going to get to play all the best cards in all the factions with no downside as these Champions of Fury come down.
Yep. Champion Fury comes down. It's going to come in for 4, and I got to imagine Muxosk is going to make that thing wanted and take it out with a sword while Hulkbuster's still tapped out.
Yeah, bounty claimed on that pesky Yeti.
Yeah.
Muxosk struggling for power here, though.
Yeah, this wanted post is going to need to draw power, but it draws 2 Slay, which, okay, that's pretty good. This is a good consolation prize, but it does mean he's going to be deploying threats rather slowly. Now Hulkbuster can get out Vadius, who has an Aegis. So this wanted poster might be just simply popping an Aegis here. We'll see as Muxosk draws a Torch.
Well, I was going to say Quarry's a little risky, but that was a pretty reasonable. Yeah.
Yep, finds the Alchemist. It's back from the dead, and it's a 3/3 now. Yeah, of course it can't block this Vadius as its quick draw unit, but it's still a 3/3 lifesteal. And Hulkbuster draws a Deep Forge Plate for the turn, but I don't think he's going to put it on Vadius here. Muxosk has been stuck on power. It's, I think, pretty reasonable to expect him to have a lot of removal in hand. You could just play out Champion of Fury and Unseen Commando or something like that, or Whirling Duo, and just really put the pressure on Muxosk, who is tight on power, so it's going to be hard for him to deal with multiple threats in a turn. And also isn't playing Harsh Rule in the main deck, right? Those are in the sideboard. So
yeah,
you're not really going to get
punished
for extending onto this board.
That's, on ladder, I thought this deck was running Harsh Rule, let me tell you.
Yeah, that's the fun thing with playing Justice decks on ladder is you can pretend you have Harsh Rule, but you don't, and you just abuse that. Like I did that all the time with Combray on ladder. I would just play Combray and take out Harsh Rule and put in whatever else I want, and your opponents would just play like you had it. Like they're always afraid to overextend onto a board, and it's wonderful. You can't quite do that in the ETS though. Your opponents know, at least in game 1, whether or not you have Harsh Rule in your deck.
Yeah, so option of trying to rise to the challenge for something like a Runehammer, or just torching and then slaying, or just torching the Whirling Duo. I kind of like stopping some of the damage here. The question is, oh wow, okay, so now he's put himself into torch the Whirling Duo, slay just to pop Aegis, which I think stops the most damage. But
Hulkbuster draws Dark Veil Agent though, so
and
Muxosk,
Unseen Commando.
Yeah.
Wow.
Muxosk has 1 turn here to deal with this board, and they're all going to get an Aegis. Draws Vanquish for the turn, doesn't hit anything, and just has to rise here. And now Hulkbuster's going to refresh the Aegis on all of his units. Can play down Deep Forge Plate if he wants to here, but draws a Protect and a Whirling Duo, and is now going to do some math and figure out how he's got lethal, because it looks like he does.
Yeah, that's a pretty clean finish there.
Yeah. And Muxosk's not only getting stuck on power, but just having a bunch of threats he couldn't play out anyways. And there we go. Hulkbuster showing off what this deck can do when it hits all the influence at once and draws exactly 5 power. It's going to look pretty strong.
Yeah. Misplay, though. Misplay. Didn't put the Deep Forge Plate on the Dark Veil Agent for the extra +1 from Unseen Commando.
Yeah, 1 extra damage there missed out on, but I think he'll live with that. And Yeah, you see what Dark Veil Agent can do there when it's when you've used up all of, because you have so many other units with Aegis that require two things. We saw these wanted posters being used to pop Aegis, and Slay used to pop Aegis, and a torch at one point. And eventually, if you can somehow exhaust all that removal and get the Dark Veil Agent to stick, it's gonna do disgusting things like that.
Yeah, Dark Veil Agent was a card that was briefly very popular when it first came out because of Feln, but as people moved away from it, nobody really came back to it. But I think it is a pretty reasonable card. It sure, it doesn't, it gives your opponent a card with Nightfall. That's the questionable thing. But if you can get Aegis onto anything, that's a form of card advantage versus removal. And like you said, in this meta game, it's just a really really good call, I think.
Yeah, I've been playing it a lot I've been playing around with Justice Primal Shadow Unseen, because playing Rindra and Sheltering
Because
Rider in the
that's the
same deck is,
colors with the unseen. You mean?
yeah. So it's real fun, and it's a tough card to figure out how to play, because it's a 2-drop that you don't always want to play on 2. A lot of times you want to play it much later and just protect it with Protect and Finest Hour and things, because if you can untap with a Dark Veil Agent that has an Aegis on itself, the rest of your game is going to go pretty
Yeah,
smoothly.
yeah, definitely. What do you think what do you think the players are going to be bringing in here, game two?
Hulkbuster's got a really cool sideboard package with the 4 Silverwing Familiar, 4 Paladin Oathbook. Like, he was ready to run into removal pile because those cards are very good against that. I
Yeah,
don't know if those exactly come in this matchup specifically, though, or how
yeah,
much
with
are
that,
going to
with
change here.
because
The
there's no harsh
Permafrost look
rules.
nice, right?
Yeah,
The Permafrost is a really clean answer to even Stone Powder Alchemist or Mokto or Highwayman. So I don't hate the Permafrost coming in here. I'm not sure though what exactly you're taking out. That's the bigger question if you're Hulkbuster out in this matchup.
yeah. I mean, your plan is to just kill them before Akaria or make a much bigger unit so that Akaria doesn't matter that much. Because I mean, for her cost, Akaria's body isn't actually all that big. It's more about all the text on her.
Yeah.
So when you're playing cards like Deforged Plate, usually you can get past her. Uh, so Permafrost hits basically everything else, which makes it a really, really tempting option, like you said. And yeah, I don't think we need to bring in the oath books because we're not against harsh rule here.
Well, you
On
could be, because Muxosk has 3 harsh rule in this
That's true.
side. So
That's
the
true.
question you have to ask yourself is, what is Muxosk's deck going to look like in this second game? Are they bringing in the harsh rule? Are they bringing in Statuary Maidens? They have extra Valkyrie Enforcers that can come in that help pop Aegis or shrink my champions. Muxosk has a lot of scary options here, and it might be tough for a Hulkbuster to guess how to react to these.
I think Stature Maiden is a tempting option. There are a lot of flyers in Hulkbuster's deck, but there are not a lot of quick draw units, which is typically Rakano is usually pretty good at getting past Stature Maiden because Rakano has either flying or quick draw on their units. But in this case, there is Kothon, Champion of Fury, Dark Veil Agent, and Whirling Duo that all are pretty susceptible to Stature Maiden.
Yeah, Kothon at least will get held off until he gets to 6 power and takes to the skies. So again, the question becomes, what are you taking out? I noticed Muxox had 1 of Annihilate in the main deck that hits basically just Valkyrie Enforcer on Unseen Commando, but notably also it's Dark Veil Agent, which maybe is enough to push it over the edge where you still keep that. Surprised to see that change up
think,
as we get into game 2 here.
Yeah, I still can't see Hulkbuster's hand, unfortunately.
All right, well, I think we'll be able to. Okay, looks like something's bugging out there on Hulkbuster's end.
Hulkbuster is playing on the mobile client, which is why he is on the in-game view.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is some.
But we do have Muskox in-game here, and we do have him. We do have the hand cam. Players are going through, and looks like Hulkbuster has just has all of his influence already, and we'll see what. Yeah, Champion of Fury again with charge. Is that a 4-2 again? Okay, so
Yeah.
4-2 on turn 2 from the 3 faction deck. And
Well, it
Sword
looks
of
like
Akari
turn
answers it
3.
again. Oh, turn
Yeah,
3. Okay. Okay.
Hulkbuster, that was his third power deployed. But again, Champion of Fury getting in for 8 damage there, hitting for 4 and then eating the sword. And follows it up with Vadius. And now Muxosk again has a Vera's favor to pop an Aegis, but finds Auric Runehammer off this quarry. So now might just hold on to this Vara's favor to pop a different Aegis and plan on use Runehammer.
Yeah, Runehammer looks really good here with
I
the
guess
Varus
I'm wrong.
Favor, with Slay, with Wanted Poster.
Okay, but by using favor here, that means Muxox has the option of deploying wanted poster on this Vadius before killing it now.
Yeah, I
Um,
definitely don't like using Runehammer on something without Aegis, though, if he plans on doing that.
yeah, and it'll be interesting to see because Muxox also has a Slay. But yeah, this Runehammer is pretty valuable in that it got a War Cry so it can kill Sheltering Rider.
Yep.
Yeah, Muxox draws a torch for turn and now can just fully clear Hulkbuster's board, assuming Hulkbuster doesn't have a protect. But he'll play out the wanted poster here and fish for a pause. But the pause could mean protect or torch, so it's not going to give him perfect information regardless.
But I think that is the play. It definitely seems like the best line to me. And there is a pause, and it is protect. So Muxosk not going to be able to get the 2 cards from Wanted Poster, but will be able to clear out both of these units.
Yeah, and essentially Hulkbuster using protect, saying, I'd rather counter your Wisdom of the Elders than counter your removal spell, right? That's what that protect is saying.
Yeah, Wanted Poster is worth 2 cards, or removal spell is worth 1. So I think that's a fair assessment. And I don't love using Runehammer here. I mean, sure, you do get to keep the.
If they have Whirling Duo, you're going to get punished hard. Because now you just don't have a clean answer to Sheltering Riders in hand. Like Slay pops the Aegis, so they can't hit you anymore, but that body still lurks around to get weapons on them.
Yeah, I mean, we saw how that worked out last game.
Yeah, it'd be one thing if the hammer costs 1 extra and you were using your power efficiently, so you could use both your drops next turn. That's not really the case here. It does have high reward though, in that if they don't have any charge units, and that's what we see here, you get the 2-for-1 out of hammer.
Yeah, and well, here he might just opt to attack for 5 and accelerate his clock with Ikaria. Okay.
Nope, he opts to just use up the hammer. Doesn't want to risk a third Dark Veil agent coming down and killing the hammer, or again, some sort of charge unit could just show up and kill it. Just get the guaranteed value.
I kind of like using the Slay there because next turn you're casting Ikaria, so you won't have the power to cast a Slay.
Right. Yeah, I can agree with that too, though. I think we both would have preferred this hammer to be used in a slightly different way, but it worked out okay for Muxox.
Yeah, so Ikaria is a real threat here, but Muxosk now with this Hammer of Might on Vadius taking a lot of damage on his end as well. Slay's going to take care of this. Yeah, Highwayman Slay.
Yeah, I would expect Highwayman to be the thing that pops this Aegis, not Slay.
Yeah, and then Slay's going to kill it, okay?
Well, no, Muxox hovered over the Slay first, which was
whoops.
He got dangerously close to using Slay to pop that Aegis, and that would have been a problem. Now he gets to scout that power to the bottom, get 11 Warcry now is sitting on top, and Hulkbuster is in a rough spot here.
Yeah, Muxosk with lethal on the board and at 12 life against a deck that does not have 12 reach.
Yeah, and a Slay in hand, and yeah, Hulkbuster just scoops it up.
Yeah, and we saw there, Hulkbuster had a reasonable draw, but it wasn't quite as explosive as last game, and Muxosk had the Runehammer this time, which was a big difference.
It also drew more than 5 power.
Yes, yes.
I don't know how much more, but at least more. So we're going to probably reach out to Hulkbuster here, see if we can get... Like, it showed back up in my friends list now, but when he got into the game, we couldn't observe it. So that's a little weird. We'll have some people restart their clients, and hopefully that'll fix it up for this third and final game that we're getting ready for.
Yep, and going into game 3, did not see any harsh rolls. They still could be in there. Anything that you would change just seeing how that played out from either side?
Again, I don't think I changed too much from Muxox's perspective, other than I think the one thing I'd like to make sure I had extras of were something like Valkyrie Enforcer. I think having the full 4 Enforcer in this matchup is
Yes.
really nice just because the 3/3 body matters, and it's just a nice way to pop Aegis while having board impact. Turns out that card's really good. in
Yeah.
case you
Also, a lot of the
in case you were
cards,
wondering. So
a lot of the cards Hulkbuster's playing don't really do much without their text.
yeah. If you just silence Dark Veil Agent, now it's just a 2/2 before it gets through you a card, or
All right.
Champion of Fury. So it lines up really well against these 2 drops.
So I've got Hulkbuster in game here with 2 Deep Forge plates in hand, and no, never mind, with a Fire Sigil.
All right. Hulkbuster hoping to take some big chunks out of Muxosk's life total at some point. He's got the option of going Kothon or not charging Champion of Fury here.
You know,
We'll have to go with the champ.
I kind of like Kothon. I mean, unless you're expecting to grind for an extended period of time, I think the Champion of Fury has a lot more value.
Mhm.
And you can just wait on that till you can get the guaranteed 4 damage out of it, or almost guaranteed. But now it just trades with this torch, and Muxosk gets to draw 2 off this Wander poster. So that's exactly where he wants to be.
Yeah, in this matchup, there's no way Kothon is surviving for you to ultimate it. So I agree that I think I would have played out the Kothon first, held the Champion of Fury in the hopes that I found a fire source. But Kothon does line up better against Muxosk's follow up here, which is just a 2/2 Stone Powder.
Yeah, exactly. Stone Powder Alchemist typically very good against aggressive strategies because even if it can't block efficiently, it can still at least keep getting in for 2 lifesteal. But against a unit with endurance, not as good.
And here we see Valkyrie Enforcer come out and do what we said it could do, which is silence Dark Veil Agent before it gives the other units in play Aegis. And Hulkbuster has not found that second fire source. Huru Banner is the draw for turn to go along with the Protect. And this is not looking good for Hulkbuster.
Yeah, Protect not looking very good against this sort of Icaria in Muxosk's hand there.
Yeah, I doubt he's going to pull the trigger on a harsh rule when you've got the board advantage, assuming you can take out this Kothon. Question of how do you want to take out this Kothon, or are you just going to let it ultimate? And that looks to be what Muxosk is choosing to do. Bringing down the Whirling Duo, hitting A space, cracking in for 6. And Hulkbuster is going to just jump this turn, it looks like. I think it's a little early to do that, especially
Yeah,
with Deep Forge Plate in hand. You can still do something with that 2/2 Dark Veil.
I don't mind the Whirling Duo play. It's just against specifically Kothon ultimating, specifically Hulkbuster having the 6 power, or specifically a weapon as large as Deep Forge Blade, the 3/3 body loses value really fast. But if Hulkbuster just had, say, like another Champion of Cunning or something like, or excuse me, Champion of Fury, it would be pretty good.
Hulkbuster missing out on 2 damage there for getting that Kothon has endurance and could have swung with it because the Valkyrie Enforcer had already attacked. We'll see if that ends up mattering as Muxosk used the Annihilate on the Owl Buddy that Kothon produced. Sort of Icaria then cleaning up Kothon, and now it's just A space and Hulkbuster's down to 6.
Yeah, and this is the power of all these lifesteal units. They're just get so much value just being on the board, even if they get removed. And that's going to be the game for Muxosk, and that's going to be 2-1.
Yeah.
Putting Hulkbuster 1-1, and Muxosk moves on with FJS up to 2-0
Yep,
in
pulling
this
off the
week's.
reverse sweep there, kind of just out mid-ranging the mid-range deck despite having that harsh rule sitting in hand. The Alchemists and Whirling Duos were coming out from one side, and Hulkbuster has Whirling Duo and Valkyrie Enforcer as well. Just didn't see it. Instead, just Kothon and Dark Veil Agent getting outclassed and too deep branded in hand.
Yeah, it's weird to see these mid-range decks playing these cards that were in aggressive decks. It makes it really hard for aggressive decks to handle because you're just playing against a lot of the same cards up in the early game, and then in the late game, you've got all these haymakers that the opponent has all these haymakers you don't have access to.
So we're gonna look in to see if we have any backup matches. Word on that yet. But we have top men on it, top men. But I did like what Hulkbuster was trying there. I know he's tried lots of 3-faction Deep Forge Plate decks in the past We've seen him combine it with Combray before. I know I've ran into it where he's playing 4/4 Aegis overwhelms on 4 and plating them up. So Sheltering Rider is a good combo with that too, and hope it works out the rest of the tournament. That's a tricky power base to figure out, and it clearly backfired in that final.
Definitely. And we have no more backup matches for this round, so I think that's just about it. Do we have? Do you want to go over a little bit about the ETS for some people who might not know?
Sure. The ETS is short for Eternal Tournament Series. So what we're doing right now is our weekly Saturday opens. There are 7 of those every every season, right? Our year is broken up into seasons. So every 2 months is a season, and we play opens where anybody can participate in them. So it's totally free. You just sign up, show up on Saturday, have fun, and depending on how you do in those opens, at the end of the season, you get to participate in an invitational. So that's where the prizes and the stakes get ramped up a bit more. There's cash prizes and things like that. And then based on how you do in those invitationals, there's also a world championship that happens at the end of all of these seasons. So lots of awesome best of 3 eternal action. And I think it's one of the most fun things you can do in Eternal. I play in it. I used to play in it pretty often. Now I have Moonlight as a caster, and either way, whether you're observing or participating, I think it's a really great time. So you can always get more information over at aReNGeeeternal.com and check it out over there.
Stay tuned for round 3.